serving 0.
Welcome to New York.
1-0.
Score is 1-0. WPH Race for 8, New York Athletic Club. It's Luis Moreno up against Andy Nett. My name is Dave Vincent. Opening round of 16 with the over and under here from Vegas, wondering how many balls are going to break during this match. Two of the hardest hitters in the game, Andy Nett, making a comeback to professional handball, going up against his former
2-0
world and national doubles champion partner, Luis Moreno.
Short, second serve. Side out. 0-2. Go replay. 0-2.
It's very early on here. The players still trying to feel each other out just a little bit. You can see a lot of Luis Moreno's shots going right back down the middle of the court. Same for Andy Nett, but they will improve their quality of play as we always improve our quality of the broadcast as the tournament goes on, as well as we give you more camera angles and instant replays and scoreboards and all that stuff. This is just bonus coverage early on here in New York. Very clean signal, and our referee calls a do-over. Referee is Abraham Montijo, who's the head ref of this tournament. Lost in the qualifier final against young 18-year-old Colin Crehan out of Ireland. There's a nice shot there from Andy Nett from Winona, Minnesota. Andy off the tour for the last couple years, back on here though, and qualified against Eric Torres earlier today. Nice clear signal though. That's one good thing about the athletic club. You're going to see some really good, clean handball here when it comes to the filming and video aspects.
Side out.
Andy is a master at that pre-dive where he'll actually dive down before the ball gets to him, and he waits for it from that ground position, as opposed to a lot of players like Moreno who will time it perfectly and run up and grab the ball. Andy dives first.
Second.
So you saw Andy Nett on that left corner kill go down to one knee as if he was waiting for the ball to get down to the ground. And as we said earlier, these guys always just kind of have a knack of breaking about 3 or 4 cans of handballs per match. We'll see how many will break here. Format 2-15, tiebreaker also 15, win by 2. That's what we do in the round of 16 on the professional tour. That's for all rounds in the money brackets. And then when you're in the playoff, it's 1 game to 25, win by 2. In case you're at home keeping score. Moreno lets that ball drop, takes it down to the left corner, and gets another point. Luis Moreno, Tucson, Arizona, comes in at the number 2 seed. Andy Nett pulls Luis. That makes Andy the 15 seed.
Second. Point. 4-0.
Luis Moreno did what he normally does at handball tournaments, showed up about 2 minutes before game time and started to put his gloves on. No warm-up.
We're going to do it again, yeah.
And there's contact as Moreno streaks through and hits Andy Nett on the way by.
4-0. 4-0.
Ball just over the service line on the right side. Luis has the shot that he wants, goes down hard. And he gets it back though. Luis putting the pressure on Nett. Nett does an underhand paddle shot, gets a side out, now 0-4.
0-4. Point. 1-4. Point. 2-4.
This is what Andy did earlier in the qualifier today against Eric Torres from San Francisco. Andy would get into the server's box and roll off 2 to 4 points every single time. And you have to counter his onslaught by great serves and points when you get in. And there's the third point in a row now for Andy Nett. And this is just what he does. What he may lack
3-4.
deep in the court or during a rally is the opposite of what he lacks when he's serving. That is an amazing serve there from Nett.
Hold it.
So if Andy Nett's left-handed kill shot to the left corner is on and his serve is, well, I guess you would say normal, then Andy might win the match. Because he has a great serve down the right. He'll sneak one to the left every now and then like that. And that wasn't too much of a sneak because Moreno played it pretty well. But then there's another point now, 4 in a row for Andy Nett. But if he can get that ball back where he wants it and he's able to first strike perfectly, then he is a total threat. Oh, and look what Luis does. Goes over the top of that ball, reverses it back to the right side. And Andy was completely fooled. We're all together at 4. But see, Luis is just like Andy. He faked it to the right, went to the left, gets a free
5-4.
point on that ace, and now we're at 5-4. That ball I thought was short. Referee calls it a point. No challenge from Andy Nett.
6-4.
And just like that, Moreno now serving to take 3 straight points. And he has the fly that he wants. Andy almost walks into it. Luis goes down to the left and gets his 3rd straight point, and there might be a timeout here. Andy's cleaning off his
7-4.
glasses here. Now it's 7-4.
Side out.
Moreno tries to short hop that ball
4-7.
after first deciding he was going to fly it, and his timing was completely off.
Short. Second.
Andy Nett is a school teacher in Minnesota. He was touring in one of the Elite Eights a couple seasons back and prior to that, but he was a substitute teacher where he was able to pick and choose which assignment he would take, and he would work his handball around that, or vice versa. This time he's a full-time teacher and just really can't get the time off. This is the first time we've seen Andy in a few years, and he came right up to us and gave us a hug. Old buddies.
Point.
There's another point for Andy. Gets it off that second serve of his, even though that was the first serve.
6-7.
You're watching bonus coverage of the round of 16. This is where our film crew just plugs a couple cameras in.
7-6.
Starts running cables, and you get to see the action while we do all of that stuff. Sometimes we break action to make sure that the internet is configured properly, or we make phone calls to IT people. So you don't necessarily see graphics on this day. This is sort of the
8-6.
setup day. It's also the reason why you hear me as opposed to those that know what they're talking about.
Side out.
Moreno lifts up just before he hits that ball, and that change
6-8.
dips the ball to the front wall, and now it's 6-8 here for Moreno as he returns the serve against Andy, who goes down to one knee and hits that ball 2 inches high, front wall right, and a point for Nett.
7-8.
Andy Nett's highest ranking was about 7 on the Pro Tour a couple years back. Now he's not ranked anymore.
Replay the last one.
The ball broke on that crack serve. That would have tied the score, unfortunately. It's just a do-over here. And that's what you expect. That's the first broken ball. I assume that there should be about 4 during this match. Over and under 1. You're watching the WPH Race for 8, stop number 5 in New York, brought to you by E Ft Handball.
Okay, 2 serves.
Their rally cry is "Go play handball." Edel just recently signed Katrina Casey to Team Edel.
Short. Second.
See what Andy does here on this second serve.
Side out.
Boy, he doesn't want to get a side out playing Luis Moreno, because Luis can score 3 or 4 of his own. That's a good shot from Nett. See if that left hand from Nett is working. He could be dangerous. And he tries to guide that ball in with an underhand paddle, and it's another point for Luis Moreno. And you see just a little of that weak left hand from Andy Nett over there on the left side. He had Luis out of position, could have ended the rally, and instead just kept the rally going. Nope. Oh, 2 bounces. And there's a side out. We were talking about E Ft Handball earlier. They have the new E Ft Pro glove designed to give the advanced ball striker ultimate feel and control. If you like to wear thin gloves, or you like to feel like you're not really wearing gloves, just from my opinion alone, you might want to try this Pro E Ft Handball glove. First 100% synthetic handball glove, which means you can actually put it in the washing machine and wash and dry it in a traditional way with your other workout clothes, which is pretty interesting. You know what happens to a regular handball glove when you throw it in the washing machine? It's the last time you'll ever use it. Well, not with this one. Has a suede texture for added grip and hop. We'll talk more about E Ft as the tournament goes on. And that ball hits a crack. Luis somehow gets it back. Andy Nett goes with his power down low, gets another point.
Short. Second.
That ball was overhit from Moreno. See what Andy does here with his left, and he goes to the left corner and gets another point. That's the shot that if Andy can get elite left-handed kill shots, he's going to get a lot of opportunities. He's going to score points because the serve is so good, even on bad days. Look how good that is. That ball was short. It might be appealed, but it was short.
Second.
But Andy's one of the only players besides Paul Brady that can hit the ball as hard as Luis Moreno, if that makes sense. Big setup again for Andy. Goes with that power. Luis underhand paddles that Andy back to the right corner. Now Luis is in charge of this rally. Overhit from Andy Nett. Luis is going to go back down to the right side. Gets the side out. You have to constantly attack Luis. You can't just flip balls back because he's dangerous. 9 serves 10, going to 15. Luis dangerous from that position. Has so much hop on it. Look at that. Left corner elite kill there from the #2 ranked player on tour, Luis Moreno.
10-10.
We're all together at 10. This match starting off a lot like that first Showtime in Seattle WPH Players Championship. Nice left-handed kill shot there from Andy Nett. You might remember that in Seattle, where Andy was looking to take that match from the #1 ranked Luis Moreno. Luis went on to win the Players Championship that year against Sean Linning in the finals. But Andy Nett had to play him first round and almost defeated him. And there's that pre-dive from Andy Nett. Doesn't get it, 2 bounces, and Moreno still in the server's box.
Side out.
Many people asking if Bailey Chandler, Andy Nett's other but better half, would be playing in the women's pro division here in New York, but she had work commitments. She too is a school teacher, could not make the trip, which was unfortunate. Former top 4 women's pro player did not make this trip. So Andy flew in with his dad, who's here watching courtside.
11-10. Short. Second. Side out.
Luis does not convert that easy. Put back into the right corner, side out. Andy Nett here, 10-11. This is a round of 16 match. The winner to face either Colin Crehan, that young 18-year-old phenom from Ireland, or Dave Fink. They're playing in a backcourt right now. And that will be a quarterfinal match, and Andy doing a little skip and a jump there before rolling that flat with his left hand. That's a tough serve. And see, that's where Andy's dangerous. If he can get that ball with his left hand, because he serves to the right so much, he's going to have to flip that ball with his left usually, because Luis returns most of his shots to the left when he serves to the right. And that's where Andy's going to have to capitalize, right there with his left hand. He leaves that up, though. Moreno pushes it back. Andy's unable to dive through, and there's a side out, and Andy's going to circle that one on the scorecard later when he watches back.
11-12. Point. Timeout, Luis. That's your first. We got 12, serving 12.
We're all together at 12 here in game #1. Best 2 out of 3 to 15. Tiebreaker also 15. Andy Nett putting on a pretty good show. Didn't look completely like the old Andy Nett that we've grown to know and love, but he was able to do some of the great serves that we recall from years past in his qualifier match earlier. And I actually refereed that match. I felt that at the time, that if Andy Nett could string together some of the other things that he can do great, like converting big setups and, you know, making sure that his left hand is not an obstacle in the course, he could win today against Luis Moreno. And you can see we're all tied at 12 here in game #1. You're watching the WPH Race for 8 New York City at the Athletic Club. The historic NYAC right across from Central Park in Manhattan. It's a beautiful club. It's a wonderful time of year to be here. It's not as cold as last year, which is a plus. The players love it here, just like San Francisco a month back. The score here is 12-12. Luis Moreno calling that timeout after he was down actually 11-12, and then he scores a point and calls a timeout. We're going to 15. There's times here during this match where Andy Nett looks like the old Andy Nett, and then there's other times when you can see he just looks a little out of pro shape, and there's a side out. Luis Moreno hits the ball into the ground. Andy Nett steps back in.
12-12. 12.
You heard the referee say 13 to 12 for Andy here. Going to 15, game number 1. Not necessarily an overhit, but Luis Moreno knows what to do with it with his left hand back into the server's box. 12-13, and this is where Luis gets dangerous when he's in clamp time and he's a little nervous. He has an extra little ounce of spin on that ball. I think that ball hit. Referee called it short. Luis Moreno immediately appeals, and that ball hits a crack, dug out somehow from Andy, who gives it to him and says it was 2 bounces. Now we're tied at 13. Like you said, Moreno's very dangerous from this position. His ball seems to hop a little bit more. He seems to be a little bit more focused. And that one skips in. It's called the announcer's curse.
13.
Andy Nett's serve is dangerous today. This is where he has Luis out of position. Luis overplays the ball. No call from the referee. And another ball into the ground. Now game point for Andy Nett. 14 to 13.
14, game point, serving 13.
That could be it. And it is. Double bounce back while Andy Nett takes game number 1, 15 to 13. And we're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a few shakes. Stick around. More handball action from New York at the NYAC for the WPH Race for 8. My name is Dave Vincent. Be back in just a bit here at racefor8.com. Stick with us.
We still got about 1 minute, guys.
We are back. New York Athletic Club, WPH Race for 8, brought to you by Edel Handball. Dave Vincent for this bonus coverage here, round of 16 action. Luis Moreno losing to Andy Nett in that first one, 13 to 15. Andy has the first serve here in game number 2. You have to win by 2. Andy Nett's first professional comeback first game, first match here on the tour for a couple years. Regular staple on the WPH Race for 8, and we've missed him. And he's making a splash early here in the round of 16, taking down our number 2 seed, Luis Moreno. They're former national and current world doubles champions together. And there's the first point for Andy Nett.
1-0.
There's a lot of things that Andy Nett does right, but the things he does wrong, these elite pros can really exploit him. But his right is so good that he could win matches or games off top players like Luis Moreno. That's one of the things that he doesn't do good, but when he is on, it makes everything else so much more difficult. 1-1 here. Our referee is Abraham Montijo. Back to the roof is Moreno. Andy Nett will go up there every now and then. It's not his favorite shot, but he'll do it. Back down the left, and that's a nice little slider from Nett. Gets back into the server's box. No call from the referee. A little look up there from Moreno.
Point.
Oh, that's a little crack
Yeah,
serve.
I called it good. One agree, both of them agree. So it's a point. 2-1.
Boy, Luis can just do everything in his power just to get that ball back, and there's another quick point there for Andy Nett.
3-1.
You know, there's a lot to say about confidence. Even though Andy Nett hasn't played on the Race for 8 tour in quite some time, you know, he comes into this match with a ton of confidence and experience, and he hits that ball 2 inches high.
4-1.
He won the national championships in doubles with Charlie Shanks
Point.
last year in Minnesota, and I thought you'd see a Luis Moreno timeout there, but no
5-1.
timeout. 5-1 now. Andy Nett leads Luis Moreno here. That even brought 2 eyebrows up out of 2 from Paul Brady, who walked by the booth. Oh, look at that kill shot there from Andy Nett. Right corner, flat rollout. Now 6-1.
6-1. Oh, we got to do that again. He had a slight chance at it. 6-1.
Just over the line.
Side out.
Luis Moreno can score in bunches. And don't be surprised if you
1-6.
see him tying the score anytime, although it's very rare to see him go up to the roof like that, and he gets a point off of Andy Nett, so he knows something. When was the last time you saw Luis Moreno hit an overhand serve? When he was 13? Uh-oh.
Point.
This is about the time you call a timeout if you're Andy Nett. He knows
3-6.
now that Luis knows something. Back again to the roof.
Point.
And no timeout yet. Now 4-6.
4-6.
I like this side of Luis here. Oddly enough, we've never seen Luis take that serve, but the first time he ever does it, it's just as good as Chapman, who used that serve as his second serve, and there is the timeout, now 5-6. I mean, I've probably played as much handball against Luis Moreno in practice in Tucson, Arizona as anybody has ever played. He's never done that serve. Probably logged in 300 matches in the last couple years alone. I've never seen him hit a ball over his head standing up like that. So where does he practice that at? If he's not doing it against me. Not to make this about me, but the first time I've seen it on the live broadcast, and it's an actual perfect location. Very similar to what Dave Chapman would teach at one of his clinics. And Andy Nett senses it very quickly here that Moreno has found a weakness, and so Andy goes right to the timeout. And you can see a complete momentum changer when Moreno changed up that serve.
Time is in. 5-6.
Nice one again. And there's a side out. I predicted earlier that Luis will be serving at 6-6 in that inning, but it didn't happen.
6-5.
Luis got up to 5 instead. 6-5 here, Andy Nett serving. And there's a side out. Moreno back into the box. If you just tuned in, Andy Nett defeated Luis in the first one, 15-13. This is extended bonus coverage that we're providing you here at racefor8.com. A round of 16 select matches, no graphics and replays and all the bells and whistles not necessarily happening today as we run cables and shoot firewalls. I don't know what all that means, but that's what we're doing. Ball just over the line, flip back from Luis Moreno back to the roof. Andy Nett pushes Luis to the back wall. Luis takes it off the almost dead center off the back wall and then goes back down the middle. Andy Nett pushes it back into Luis, who goes inside out into the ground, and there's a point for Nett, 7-5.
7-5.
This could be a huge setup for Luis, down to the left side this time instead of pushing it down the right. I don't know how Andy gets his hand on that, but he does. And there's a side out.
5-7. Point. 6-7.
6-7, Moreno. Look at that reverse. Goodness. And Moreno off balance, right corner kill. That's the Luis we've grown to know and love.
7-7. Ball's broken.
Well, that's only the second broken ball. I predicted 4 over and under 1. That's about right. So we'll be working on the third ball here. Luis Moreno and Andy Nett. Andy wins the first one, 15-13. Was up 6-1 here in game number 2, and now Moreno changed to a lob serve. And because of that change, you're seeing Moreno come back.
All right, replay the last point. 7-7. Point.
Got an update
8-7.
that young phenom, 18-year-old Colin Crehan from Ireland, just took Dave Fink to a tiebreaker over on a side court.
Point.
And that one went overtime in game number 2 after Dave won the first one. Overtime loss for Fink, 14-16. Game 2 here, game number 3 coming up on a back court, on a black court, as they say.
9-7. Hold it, hold
Contact.
it.
That was tough too. Andy, all he had to do was step back with his left foot, and he probably gets a side out.
9-7.
9-7 here. Moreno up. He was down 6-1. An 8-1 run since he went to that lob serve. Now you can see he's back to the power serve. I don't know how our stat keeper is going to mark that one on the scorecard, though. And there's a side out. Andy Nett defeats Luis Moreno
7-9.
in that first game.
Point. Eight, 9. Side out. 9-8. Point. Ten, 8. Point. 11-8. Screen. 11-8.
Score is 11-8.
Side out. 8-11.
We're going to 15. You have to win by 2. That's a tough ball to get back.
Point.
Double bounce before the back wall. That was actually a reverse. The ball just looks from this camera angle like it just flattened out just a little
9-11.
bit. It really almost didn't do anything according to that camera, but if you're in the court, you can just feel it fading from you, and there's
Point.
10-11.
10-11.
He's so dangerous down that right wall. This is where he has to convert, and he does
Hold
it.
it.
He has to
Check.
put that ball down. You almost are trying to tell Andy to hit a side wall in there somewhere to soften that left-handed kill shot down the
Replay,
left wall.
10-11.
Or just flat roll it. He tried, but he hit it too hard.
Short.
Good call from our referee, Abraham Montijo.
Second. Side out. $11-10.
Score is 11-10, and Moreno trying to get these last couple points to force a tiebreaker. There's the pre-dive from Nett. And this is going to be a huge setup for Andy. Watch how he sets his feet. Goes with power. Doesn't hit it low enough, though. Moreno down to one knee. Moreno's having to play as hard as he can possibly play here to defeat Andy Nett in the opening round. And there's a ball into the ground, and Nett back into the box. One of these days, Moreno will realize that you can't show up to a tournament like this 2 minutes before your match and just take your
10, serving 11.
Street clothes off right at the side of the court and throw your shorts on and get in there and play. You have to actually warm up and think about it and all those other things. That style's worked for a long time, but he's not a young kid anymore. Oh.
Point.
Okay, Andy was going to break his leg there and then ends up hitting a flat rollout over the top. Gets a point now. I believe we're tied.
11-11.
At 11.
Short.
It's a good call.
Second.
Andy Nett was an incredible football player. Quarterback, Winona State, All-American. There's a no call from the referee. Andy just making Luis back and forth, pre-dive. Andy Nett gonna take that out of the air. No, gonna let it go around the revolving door left hand, flips it back up. Luis down to the right.
Screen.
There was a screen call. That was a horrible shot from Moreno, who just flips it right down the middle and then gets in the way of Andy. Now he has to face the wrath of one of those great serves down the right. And there's a timeout from Andy Nett here.
Scores 11 up.
A couple years ago, we were hanging out at Jake Plummer, former NFL quarterback's house in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And Andy Nett was over. We had a little bonfire out there on the lake. And I said to Jake, hey, here's a, you know, unfortunately, here's the best quarterback in this whole county right now, standing next to you. And Jake says, you were quarterback? And then, you know, next thing you know, they've struck this friendship. We're able to talk about, you know, playing that position and, you know, being an athlete and what they had to go through. And it was really cool to watch those guys talk about that position. But I don't believe a lot of people realize just how good Andy Nett is. I mean, go Google his name in Winona State and look at his stats from when he was in college as a quarterback. Stands about 6'1", 6'2". He and Jake stand eye to eye, way about the same. But he
15 seconds.
Didn't go to the combine and didn't try to get into the NFL draft. He was also a top baseball and basketball star, while also winning state championships in Minnesota in handball.
Andy, you have one timeout remaining. Score is 11-11.
We're all tied at 11 here, going to 15, win by 2, Andy Nett serving. This is the WPH Race for 8, New York City at the NYAC. See if Andy can convert this, and he does.
Point.
That's what you'd have to say before an Andy
12,
Nett match
11.
is that he's going to hit a lot of balls with his left, and he better convert them. 12-11, and he's so far doing pretty darn good today, and that looked like it was going to be a free point for him.
Point.
But it doesn't matter. He gets a point on the next shot. Now 13-11, Andy Nett, 2 away from upsetting our number 2 seed, Luis Moreno.
13-11.
On his comeback to the professional tour, Andy Nett just 2 points away. Boy, he hits the ball hard when he sets up, and he fell down. He hit that so hard. Andy gonna go back to the roof. Luis just paddling that ball with his left. That was actually not a bad defensive shot, but I'm not sure why Luis is going to the paddle at 11-13, but he got the side out on some methodical stuff. That's a formula that normally doesn't work for Luis Moreno. 11-13. And back to that serve again that has given him points. This is the only serve that Andy hasn't done anything with.
Point.
And Moreno has proven to us that he can score in junk time.
12-13.
I'm wondering why Luis is going to go to the serve. He's only scoring points off that lob.
Short.
This isn't something he's been doing well. But I
Second.
think he will go back to it here. That was an overhit to the ceiling from Andy, and Luis Moreno hits it in the ground.
$13-12. Sorry, Andy, I wasn't looking at you. 13-12.
Score is 13-12. Andy already won the first one, 15-13.
Short. Second.
Low contact, no call from the referee. Andy tried to push that ball down the right wall, unable to get over the top of it to keep that slice going, but he tried to, though.
12-13. Point. That is your last. 13-13.
We're all tied at 13 here, just when it looked like Andy Nett was going to pull away. Luis Moreno comes back with some sloppy kind of play, but also methodical and I guess maybe well planned. Back in here.
13-13.
Tied at 13. Oh, I thought that ball was going to skip in, but what a great shot from Andy Nett. And he's back into the server's box here, tied at 13. He too could score 2 quick points. We've seen a couple aces down that right wall, double bouncers. Unable to slide that one away. Overhit, Luis Moreno. Andy Nett has to be dangerous from there, misses the shot. That ball hits the side wall. Now Luis back into control here. Strange underhand paddle from Andy Nett there. Look how Andy's able to get that ball back to the front wall. Back to one knee. And now we're going to reset the action here. This is still going to be a setup from Moreno. Look how Andy is able to do that. Oh, wow. That was a freebie. Andy's out of energy too. Surprised there's no timeout called here. I don't know how Andy is able to get those balls back. That's just remarkable. A tall guy myself, what it takes for a tall guy to let the ball drop. Andy's going down on one knee and waiting for the ball to almost hit the ground, and he's flipping it back, and now he's calling for a glove change, and I think he's going to get it. And what a great, well-timed glove change that is. Andy Nett's going to get 2 minutes to try to recoup. This is just a lower seating up top. We have rows and rows of people watching this amazing game of handball. Watching bonus coverage here. WPH Race for 8. At the New York Athletic Club. Earlier, it was Andy Nett winning game number 1, 15-13. Over on a side court, Dave Fink and young 18-year-old Colin Crehan are going to a tiebreaker.
All right, resuming play. The score is 13-13.
Oh, and there's the 14th point. Andy Nett serving to take the match.
14 match points, serving 13.
It's really quiet in here. I think the fans know what this means. See how nervous Andy is.
Short.
Oh, that ball was just a little bit short, and
Second.
if it were to get over the line, that would have been nearly impossible to get back. Second serve. Oh, and somehow Moreno gets that ball back. I don't know how he got that off the ground. Andy back down to one knee. Moreno's going to have to dive in. He doesn't get it. Does he get it? It doesn't matter. Andy Nett just took down Luis Moreno here in the round of 16. Andy Nett advances 15-13, 15-13. That means Nett, the dreamboat from Minnesota, goes to the quarterfinals as he defeats Luis Moreno here. It was Moreno who dove down to the ground. Nice little fist pump from one of the nicest guys in handball, Andy Nett, and he defeats Luis Moreno in game number 2. Unbelievable, as that is not something we expected when we saw that earlier. Even in the video preview, Andy Nett got a snub. Nobody talked about him as one of the top qualifiers, and he goes in and takes down our number 2 ranked player, Luis Moreno. Nett survives the natural, winning 15-13, 15-13. We have another match coming up right around the corner. I want you to stick close for more handball here in New York, the Big Apple, where Sean Linning and Danny Cordova will be coming up a little later on. Another great match right around the corner. Mondo Ortiz and Mike Schneider will be playing as well. We want you to stay close. We have handball all weekend long with ESPN and the Watch ESPN app, as well as the WPH at racefor8.com. We'll be back in just a bit. Stick with us.